This past Monday, Jinder Mahal and Seth Rollins made a date. Just as they did in July of 2012 in the preschool years of NXT, these two will compete, this time for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. A match that was made all the more intriguing following a spicy outburst from AEW's top brass Tony Khan. It's not the first time, though, that Jinder Mahal has been in the mix at the top. And in the wake of TK's attempts at high-level hindrance, let's look back at the headline that became a punchline. The WWE title reign of Jinder Mahal. To even the most weathered of Jinder maniacs, that spring in which he sprung truly was unexpected. Canadian-born Yuvraj Singh Desi, the nephew of iconic wrestling heel Gamma Singh, was very settled into a groove in WWE. A wrestling career that had started with sparring sessions with fake Razor Ramon Rick Bogner, of all people, had led him to a WWE developmental deal in 2010. His early days on the main roster indicated that WWE had big plans for Big Jinder, having him bitch slap his kayfabe brother-in-law, the great Khali. Jinder Mahal said on Talk Is Jericho back in 2017 that his WWE arrival came at a time where Vince McMahon was on the lookout for his next big Indian wrestling ambassador once more. This would play a big part in our topic today, Jinder's very sudden rise to the highest echelons of sports entertainment. Now, in his first year with WWE, Jinder would also have confrontations, verbal or otherwise, with heavy hitters of the time, like Kane, The Undertaker, Randy Orton and Ryback. It was a big first year on the main roster. Now, admittedly, the Undertaker confrontation came as he led an apology of lower mid-carders like Camacho, Hunico, Kurt Hawkins, Tyler X and others into a charge on the Brothers of Destruction as depressing as the end of Blackadder Goes Forth. But it's worth pointing out that Jinder was the mouthpiece in this bit, the voice among the listless, if you will. WWE liked Jinder Mahal, but just not enough to truly give him that main event run early on. He found similar comfort with other like-minded warriors, promising talents who'd been promised the world and been lost in the shuffle. Drew McIntyre and Heath Slater. 3MB was born, a Vince McMahon and Michael Hayes rock and roll concoction to give a piece of creative driftwood to three adrift adversaries. With apologies to Heath, it is incredible how Jinder Mahal's career aligned with Drew McIntyre's, a big lad who Vince McMahon really wanted to get behind but didn't have the attention span to follow up on. Somebody that, without direction, was left spinning the proverbial wheels, and somebody who was released from WWE on June the 12th, 2014, the same day as his colleague in WWE's infamous Constantly Getting Covered band. Like Drew, Jinder would find his way back to WWE after a few years of finding himself in wrestling's wilderness. However, despite beating his former bandmate Heath Slater for a WWE contract, he proceeded to get beaten like a drum for months on end. Indeed, upon checking cagematch.net, as all other major wrestling promoters do and should, Jinder Mahal had only 3 victories in 2016, one against Heath Slater, one against Jack Swagger on Raw, and another over Darren Young on Superstars. 3 wins and 37 losses. Now, despite losing matches, he was gains. He was looking noticeably more muscular by the time the year closed out, a look that put him back on Vince McMahon's radar. Now, it's no secret, if you look the part, regardless of where you're at talent and status-wise, you'll probably get a shot at the part. It was a hench new look, which Jinder very publicly denied was anything to do with physique-enhancing chemicals or paraphernalia, and down to a new workout regime and strict diets that got him noticed as 2017 began to flourish. A short partnership with Rusev seemed to be leading Jinder in the right direction. However, an injury to the Bulgarian Brute would lead to the team dissolving, and a move that would change the very fate of Jinder Mahal, a shift to SmackDown in the post-WrestleMania Superstar shakeup. His move to Tuesday nights at the time wasn't massively remarked upon. In fact, Kevin Owens, Charlotte Flair and Sami Zayn were seen as the true standouts who were going to work Tuesdays, not Jinder. Despite the round of apathy about his new job, it was almost like wrestling on a Tuesday night unlocked some kind of hidden mojo, not that one, that Jinder had never discovered before. Actually, ironically, it was a 3-minute loss to Mojo Rawley on Jinder's first fight on Tuesday night that was where things started to change for him. It was a week later that Jinder Mahal, perennial lights inspector for WWE, who had won 3 matches the year before, was thrust into the hunt for Randy Orton's WWE Championship. April 18th, 2017, Jinder Mahal enters a 6-pack challenge featuring Sami Zayn, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan, Mojo Rawley, and Dolph Ziggler. The winner would challenge Orton for the title. Many felt Jinder was in there to eat the 3 count, but no, he was in there to win the whole darn thing. If it were a horse race, John McCririck would have balked at the idea of even putting a $5 on Jinder. Post-match, Jinder Mahal attacked verbally the booing audience, saying their boos are born of xenophobia. They don't like him because he doesn't fit their stereotype of the all-American. And he pointed out his family's wealth, his higher education, the fact that he's bilingual, and he signed off his tirade stating, "You will have no choice but to accept Jinder Mahal as your next WWE champion." Polite boos. WWE champion Randy Orton then headed to the ring, and whilst he promised Jinder an RKO in their upcoming match, he turned his attention to the guy he was currently embroiled in a feud with, Bray Wyatt. The new #1 contender, Jinder Mahal, then had to stand there as Bray Wyatt popped up on the Tron to big up he and Orton's upcoming match. At some point during this spooky set piece, Jinder Mahal just vanished. Like Schrodinger's Jinder, he ceased to exist because nobody around him cared he was there. A not so illustrious start to Jinder Mahal's championship campaign, but the following week, after a bit of verbal, Jinder actually left the WWE champion laying in the ring with some help from his new running buddies, the Singh brothers. He even stole the WWE title and held it aloft, which the crowd found unbelievable, but not in the right way. It didn't matter. Jinder Mahal was in the main event picture. He headlined WWE's European tour in May, unsuccessfully challenging Randy Orton for the WWE title at the top of the card with AJ Styles. He was a suitable main event buffer in a triple threat compromise. Whilst Vince McMahon did want to make Jinder a top lad dead quick, adding Styles to the mix was a very canny decision, actually. It kept somewhat alarmed fans placated about the live event they'd bought tickets to being headlined by Jinder Mahal. Post-Euro trip, main event Jinder Mahal pins AJ Styles. The guy who, a year ago, wasn't in WWE. 6 months ago, he was being pinned by Sin Cara on Superstars. 3 months ago, Enzo and Big Cass were having his life, and he's now beating AJ Styles. What in the name of Satan's portion is going on? It's worth noting that at the same time as Jinder's alarmingly meteoric rise, somebody was getting their feet under the table in their new WWE office job. Kshitij Srivastava had been installed as the new VP and General Manager of WWE India. Kshitij joined from Walt Disney India, where he'd overseen content creation and distribution for that market. He'd also previously worked for the Times of India group. So he comes with experience and some big ideas. WWE EVP of International at the time, Ed Wells, welcomed the appointment in a press release, saying WWE is committed to expanding its presence in India, and we are pleased to welcome Kshitij to further our efforts in that market. At the same time, WWE launched WWEshop.in, their first local Indian e-commerce outlet. WWE had renewed focus on the 750 million social media followers plus that they had accrued in that part of the world. Forbes reported that WWE had generated just shy of $16 million from Asia around WrestleMania season, but they could always make more. Whilst guys like John Cena and The Undertaker have always been proven draws in that market, WWE felt there was true value in making a main event star from somebody with Indian roots. In the week leading up to Jinder Mahal's pay-per-view title opportunity, Dave Meltzer opined in the Wrestling Observer why suddenly Mahal was Mahal that. There was a couple of factors. Jinder's new look absolutely grabbed the attention of Vince McMahon, presumably Vince reacting like he does in that meme that does the rounds, the one with his eyes bugging out. That's the one. Meltzer also cites WWE's newest plans to enter the Indian marketplace, once again attempting to launch a megastar of Indian descent to increase their exposure outside of America. Forbes magazine wrote about Jinder Mahal's sudden rise to prominence as well, citing it as the latest savvy attempt by WWE to win the hearts of India and the Middle East. And with WWE holding tryouts in Dubai soon after Backlash, they wanted to pull the trigger on somebody quickly. Heaven forfend, Vince McMahon doesn't think long term with any of the stories that he tells. Another point that both the Forbes article and the Wrestling Observer meet on is when it comes to asking why Jinder, well, why not Jinder? WWE was suffering from a severe lack of top-tier stars, especially bad guys. The brand split only made that chasm wider, and that actuality far more glaring. With a lot of guys in the middle of the pool, they needed to get somebody in the deep end. So choosing Jinder Mahal, arguably, over suitable candidates like Sami Zayn or Luke Harper or Dolph Ziggler, served several masters at once. Dave Meltzer wraps up his editorial on the matter by saying, whatever happens, Backlash 2017 will probably always be remembered as the show where Jinder Mahal randomly got a WWE title shot. Oh, Dave, it'll be remembered for something far more than that. Backlash 2017 will always be remembered as the night Jinder Mahal became WWE champion. The commentary, the moment the 3 count went down, said it all. You've got to be kidding me! Pigs have flown! You've got to be kidding me! Hell has frozen over! You've got to be kidding me. We weren't kidding you, JBL. It actually summed up perfectly how fans felt watching Jinder enter the crowd and raise now his WWE title aloft. Dumbfoundment all round. Now, I've been flogging my memory for a more out of thin air title change than Jinder Mahal. I mean, obviously there was Bret Hart in 1992, who went from a not-so-storied rivalry with Papa Shango post-Wembley SummerSlam to beating Ric Flair at a house show in Saskatoon to become WWF champion. But with Bret, he'd been presented as the company's secondary champ just before that, and an absolute in-ring grafter. So whilst the crowning was a surprise, it wasn't an unpleasant one. Same with Ron Simmons that same year when he defeated Big Van Vader for the WCW title. The future Nation of Domination leader, barroom brawler for hire, and 4-letter expletive enthusiast, beating the unstoppable champ in less than 10 minutes at the Baltimore Arena as a result of having his name drawn in a raffle was a surprise. But Ron Simmons had been on a hot streak all the way to that fateful night in August, an almost unblemished record in the 12 months prior. And he was coming off the back of a victorious rivalry against Cactus Jack. The closest I can find to Jinder Mahal's limp to greatness was probably Jack Swagger, who cashed in his Money in the Bank in 2010 and became World Heavyweight Champion for the first and the last time. Outside of that briefcase snatching moment at Mania 26, Swagger had a wildly inconsistent 6 months, most of it spent losing to people all up and down the totem pole. Randy Orton, Mark Henry, Evan Bourne. However, unlike Jinder, Jack Swagger had an ECW world title run to his name for better or worse, and the Money in the Bank cash-in gives kind of carte blanche for a shocking title change, as opposed to WWE attempting to hypno-toad the audience into seeing Jinder as a threat after spending the better part of the year as a jobber to the stars, which does explain the commentary table's reaction to Jinder's victory, describing it the way that, like an RKO, had come out of nowhere. So he didn't have the considered cred to carry the company. However, the first bite of every meal always comes from the eye. Now, Jinder was in the best shape of his career, as we've said. And now he was the champion. He was given a production makeover that was befitting a champ. A lavish walk to the ring with a digitized red carpet, an actual carpet in the ring for his promos, which was a nice touch. Bold new Tron graphics that made him look and feel every bit like a modern day Maharaja. 2 days after becoming the 50th WWE champion and the first of Indian descent, he was given a Punjabi championship celebration complete with live music and dancers. It was a great build-up, and then he cut a promo where he decried the people for booing him because he looked different, said Randy Orton, like America, is in decline. He declared himself the greatest WWE champion of all time and received a polite booing from the crowd and a USA chant when he spoke in Punjab. People just weren't biting on it, despite this incredible presentation. The hope was that Jinder Mahal on tours of India would put new eyes on WWE. On TV, he was presented as every bit your classic anti-American heel. Not even the all-American heroes like Sergeant Slaughter and Bob Orton Jr. at ringside could prize the WWE title from Jinder's clutches as he defeated Randy Orton in a rematch at Money in the Bank a month later. Despite overcoming interference from the Singh brothers, Jinder Mahal beat RKO 1, 2, 3 once more. Many thought that this match was actually set up to swap the title back to Randy Orton, as if WWE were going, lol, only joking. But absolutely not the case. Jinder kept on keeping on as WWE champion, with a third and final showdown between the two booked for WWE Battleground inside the infamous Punjabi prison. Because how do you enhance an underwhelming title run? By adding the bamboo-based bollocks known as the Punjabi prison. 2 cages, 4 doors that lock within 60 seconds like it's the bloody Crystal Maze, a second cage with assorted weapons, and the winner is the one who survives the pain, the punishment, the splinters, the embarrassment, all that. This match did give us a big return, quite literally, as the great Khali came back to help his kayfabe brother-in-law defeat Randy Orton and once again leave a pay-per-view as WWE champion. There's a good bit in this where Khali raises the WWE title himself, presumably under the misapprehension that he was now champion. I mean, I'm not going to tell him, are you? The Battleground pay-per-view itself was a low point for the Blue brand, a show whose quality had been in a bit of a nosedive since April. Now, it's easy to just heap the blame on Jinder Mahal, but it's more than that. It's a wafer-thin roster. It's a lack of new or exciting creative, and unfortunately, it's a mid-card lad suddenly as WWE champion. You can't avoid it. Despite the presentation, despite 3 wins over Randy Orton, people didn't see Jinder as championship material. Jinder went on to weather several storms as top guy. He only lost by DQ to John Cena in August, which is a success. He survived a Money in the Bank cash-in by Baron Corbin and managed to have the same match against Shinsuke Nakamura 2 times on 2 different pay-per-views. Standard contest, Singh brothers get beaten up, Jinder gets the win. It was during this feud that WWE caught some unwanted mainstream media flack. In promos building up to his showdowns with Shinsuke, Jinder Mahal mocks Nakamura's Japanese culture and dialect in the most 90s sophomoric way possible. WWE brushed the negative attention under the carpet, presumably the same one that Jinder cut all those promos on. It wasn't a great look, and whilst many attribute it to a heel being a heel, get over it, you're woke, it's clear that Jinder's title reign was made no better by making those comments. Now, Jinder Mahal's flash-in-the-pan title win was turning into a slow-cooked title run and was set to run into 2018. Before getting there, Jinder threw down the biggest challenge he could to Brock Lesnar, then WWE Universal Champion, for a title holders tussle at Survivor Series 2017. Jinder's throwdown was met by an apathetic Michael Cole on commentary, saying, "Are you kidding me?" You know, with the same energy as somebody dropping their wallet on the bus. To this day, that match graphic featuring Jinder versus Brock Lesnar feels like a Tom's Customs parody, as opposed to actual proposed creative. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman called Jinder Mahal a consolation prize champion for a show that got shafted in the Superstar Shake-Up the following week on Raw. Nice. And promised Jinder Mahal a trip to Suplex City. Now, Brock and Heyman, whilst they were dropping some home truths, Jinder Mahal was in the homeland. WWE showed a video montage of Mahal in Mumbai and New Delhi receiving a hero's welcome. They hyped the WWE Live Tour and the Indira Gandhi Indoor Stadium that would host a Indian WWE Champion's title defense. As we've said, a big part of this title reign is to increase market share in India. So it made what happens next a bit perplexing. Turns out, Jinder wouldn't need the ticket to Suplex City. He took up a challenge from AJ Styles for the WWE title on SmackDown, emanating from the Manchester Arena in the UK. Jinder had shocked the wrestling world when he won the WWE title, and on that cold night in Manchester, he shocked the world again by losing the title to AJ, the first time the biggest prize in the game had switched hands outside of North America. Now, I'm not calling for Jinder's run to be extended, but why take it off him now? He's just called out Brock Lesnar for Survivor Series. They made a graphic and everything. Well, Jinder's title reign survived a lot of things. It couldn't survive the creative control card of Brock Lesnar. Reports say that the Beast incarnate didn't feel that Jinder Mahal was ready for a match with him, something that many people have been saying since the beginning of the program. Brock's power backstage is renowned. If he don't want to work with you, then you know about it. But surely Jinder Mahal's time on top is mainly driven by a push for new stars and a push for growth in India. So if those optics are good, then you'd simply pivot the match rather than take the belt off Mahal completely. It depends how well that particular experiment is going. And Forbes magazine were keen to find out themselves in October of 2017. We constantly crow about the calamitous creative of Mahal's milestone. We get it, it was half-witted in concept and half-hearted in execution, but did it actually work when it came to the Indian market? WWE didn't shed any light on actual numbers with Forbes. But they did do some research, did Forbes, and found out that since Jinder Mahal had begun his Kailash-conducted campaign, international WWE Network subscribers had increased from 408,800 to 410,100, a 0.3% rise in international viewers. Inspired by WWE's offering, led by Jinder Mahal, it had gone up about that much. Also, that WWE India outlet that we talked about earlier, Forbes reported that there was just a 6% increase in international shopping, which should have been exponentially higher, what with Christmas round the corner. Worse still, worldwide merch revenue was down year on year for the first time in half a decade. Despite the less than impressive number, Chris Smith of Forbes said that he didn't predict WWE would change its strategy anytime soon, as the company were looking at the big picture on their road to making inroads. Whilst that is very much the case, that big picture no longer featured Jinder Mahal in the foreground. So the decision was made to create a big moment on SmackDown, the first WWE title change on the blue brand in over a decade, and the first away from the US and Canada. With that, it's curtain down on the story of the modern-day Maharaja's WWE title reign. Stephanie McMahon spoke to Times of India after Jinder's run and described his time on top as incredibly interesting and successful to our global audience. If he became a bit of a hero in India as a result, well, that is awesome too. Jinder, of course, has played the antagonist here in the States. I think he was received as a homecoming hero when he performed live in India. Whenever there is a local star, there is significance to our audience. Our audience is so much bigger. It's global, so we have to entertain everyone. Lot to read into there, isn't there? Incredibly interesting. If he became a hero, I think he was received as a homecoming hero. Not exactly brimming with confidence there. It wasn't like WWE were going to go on record and go, yeah, we buggered that up big time, lads, sorry about that. But as with the commentary, the night Jinder ascended, you gotta read between the lines on this. Now, regardless of how we feel about it, nothing changes the history books. Jinder Mahal will forever be recognized as the 50th WWE champion and the first of Indian descent. Whilst a lot of what we've talked about comes across as us hindering Jinder, it's really not. Jinder Mahal is a great wrestler. He looks the part, he sounds the part too. He's very much a wrestling package, and to be honest, WWE have done more with less. The issue with this title reign isn't the man, it's the method, man. WWE did need some fresh stars on top. There was a gap caused by the splitting of a very lean brand. Somebody had to get the rocket strapped to them. However, there are ways to do it, as has been proved throughout wrestling, that sees the fans join you on the journey and people reach prominence with style. Yet, with no foresight or forethought, outside of WWE wanting to make rupees, a guy who had spent the entire year losing to lower level talent was suddenly made the company's top star in whiplash-inducing fashion. Tony Khan's pointed comments about Jinder's latest title chase flying in the face of his win-loss record do seem both markish and mawkish, but they aren't wrong. Jinder hasn't wrestled since September. But that being said, he hasn't picked up a victory since January when he beat Julius Creed on NXT. His win before that was over Humberto Carrillo in June of 2022. And before that, he won a 6-man tag with Shanky and Veer in September of 2021. This guy is averaging 1 win per year. He carries more L's than a Welsh village. Yet here he is, looking like $1 million and in the mix for the world title. Does this all seem eerily familiar? Jinder, having done nothing of note, barely a win to his name, is butting heads with top stars, such as his highly rated whooping by The Rock the other week, and is now challenging for the WWE title. Seth is surely surpassing Jinder though, right? After all, his eyes are on a showdown with CM Punk. But weren't Randy Orton's eyes on a showdown with Bray Wyatt when Jinder Mahal challenged him? And Jinder went on to become WWE champion, despite the story suggesting that he shouldn't. But look, this isn't 2017. There's no way that with no build and no big wins and no reason other than an expanding interest in the Indian market, they'd have Jinder Mahal become a key WWE title holder again. They wouldn't. Nah, they wouldn't. Would they? Stay safe. Love you, bye.